Good morning. Welcome. Today we are talking with instructor Marcus Adkins, who carries the responsibility of preserving, teaching, and evolving traditional martial arts. These arts were shaped by necessity, culture, and lived experience, not just movement, but values, discipline, and identity. In this conversation, we'll explore where these traditions came from, how they are practiced today, and how instructors see them moving forward. This isn't about styles competing. It's about principles, purpose, and the people who pass on the art. So today again, I'm honored to be joined by Marcus Atkins. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's my honor.
So, first question: who were your primary teachers, and what did they emphasize beyond technique?
Yeah. Well, I started off with Okinawan karate. It was a kids class, and that teacher, his name was Jeff Nagata. He really emphasized structure and hard work. He implemented in my mind the seed that if you really want to get good, there's no trick. It's just hard work. And then I studied Aikido for a while, and that was his sensei Alan Bibe, and that really emphasized softness, and instead of being linear, circular type of movements. Did that for a short time, and that was good. But my primary teacher was Professor Ali Mohammed. He had a background in kempo and boxing, jiu-jitsu, uh, Hungar Kung Fu, among other things. We did Qigong and Tai Chi, but yeah, he always talked about the laws and the principles are what we have to implement to be effective in martial arts and in life.
That's awesome. Sounds like he had a big impact on your life.
Yeah, he was like a father figure in a lot of ways, and I know you can relate to that too because you've had the same thing with uh, some of your teachers as well.
Yes. So let me ask you this: how did discipline, respect, and hierarchy shape your early training?
Yeah, I was a wayward youth. Got into a lot of trouble, poor grades, fights in school, you name it. And having this structure where I had to be respectful and disciplined and on time. I remember a time where one of the uh, assistant instructors saw my friend and I. We would just take our gi and just kind of crumple it up and throw it in our bag. And he told us to have some self respect, and just taught us how to fold it and all of that. And learning, we had a creed that we would say, learn the ways to avoid rather than check rather than hurt rather than maim rather than destroy. For all life is precious, nor can any be replaced. And that really implemented in my mind how going and looking for fights or having some short fuse is very, very foolish and disrespectful to um, the other person and even to myself, and extremely dangerous. So it's really taught me to really seek to be peaceful with people. And if someone says something, the best thing you could do is walk away, and even better, maybe try to diffuse it. You might even make a friend.
Right, right. Actually, and you were talking about kind of having that lived experience, right? One of your friends when you were younger, the first thing that you thought, because he didn't he challenge one of your friends or something, or
Yeah, he was arguing with a not so great friend of mine, and so I wanted to confront him and fight him, and he explained to me the whole situation and made me see a little bit beyond a 13-year old's emotion, and he became one of my best friends that I've ever had. So to me, that's a true victory.
yeah,
That's how you really defeat an opponent. You're not fighting a person, you're fighting attitudes and
mentality.
mentality.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you believe should never be lost from the old ways?
What do I Yeah. um the respect, the humility, having an appreciation for the roots that got you here. I don't use the word traditional martial art because if you look at what people are doing in some of the modern or some of the sport applications, you can trace every single thing that they're doing back to the so-called traditional. It didn't appear out of nowhere.
Right.
So I having that respect for our teachers, for that was the thing that I would want to hold on to, that respect and that inner discipline.
Okay. Okay. So let's look at kind of like today's the present moment of martial arts, and then how do you balance tradition with realism, pressure, and modern knowledge?
Yeah, I've heard there's traditional and then there's conditional. So sometimes there are things that do need to be questioned. Uh, are some movements practical? Are they too slow? I know Bruce Lee. He had taken a look at his Wing Chun, and which is a fantastic art, but he also saw that it was a little too static. It needed to move more. So I think that we can maybe look at boxers, how rather than just being set, their movement, their foot movement, and blending some of those concepts in with the arts that we receive from Asia. I know Dan Inosanto, he talked about, is the Western approach or the Eastern approach better? And he said it's really kind of a balance in between. Because when I think of the East, I think about that which is old and rooted,
Mm-hmm.
like on a tree. When I think of the West, I think about like the branches that are going out. Well, to me, a tree is fed from its roots and it's also fed from its branches
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I think that trying to find that balance and
Kind
having
of a marriage.
a marriage, yeah, but being willing to have a critical thinking towards what you're doing. If there's something that is not working and would not work in reality under pressure, maybe it needs to be altered or done away with and replaced with something more functional.
Okay, so kind of what I'm gathering is this like question maybe some of the stuff that you're doing, and if it's not, if you don't find it useful in the terms of Bruce Lee, then that's when you'd want to get rid of those things, possibly, or maybe not get rid of it, but keep it in the just kind of in your back pocket.
Agreed. Yeah, and some of the Eastern thinking, there was such a profound respect for your elders, which I think is excellent. But sometimes I think that can go a little bit too far, where you're not supposed to question anything. There's that famous line, the Karate Kid: "Teacher say, student do, no question asked." So here in the West, we do ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
and that asking of questions is what has allowed us to evolve and move forward in so many aspects of life. And I definitely think that you and I agree that applying that in the martial arts is a good thing.
Agreed. Agreed. So, how do you teach restraint, control, and responsibility alongside effectiveness?
Yeah, I think it starts with some of the things that here in the West we might think of as outdated and not useful, but you coming in and bowing or saluting. I think we need to get back to the yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Um, I think that I remember the first karate class that I had taken. I was 12 years old, and I had asked the sensei on the day of sparring if I could fight everyone in the school, and he said if I ever asked that question again, he would pick me up and carry me out of the class. So there was no toleration for that. So I think that also teaching students that what we're showing as far as fighting is a absolute last resort that is to be avoided unless totally necessary. We're not people that are out looking for a fight. We're looking to avoid one.
Mm-hmm. And that creed that you talked about kind of demonstrates that. in a way of using words and telling you kind of like, this is kind of how you approach things.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a profound respect for all life, for your fellow man. And I think there's also a definite safety aspect. This isn't the 70s and 80s where somebody, invites you to go after school and we're going to fist fight. People carry knives and guns and multiple attackers. So, I mean, beyond just respect, which is where it starts, just personal safety. This is 2025, and you can just watch the news and you can see that, people end up dead. So yeah, trying to avoid those conflicts is good.
Agreed. I'd have to agree 100%. So, um, looking at the future, how must traditional martial artists adapt to remain relevant?
Yeah, I think that some people will talk about, say, forms or katas and say that they're not useful. I think that taking a look at those forms and katas and seeing their application, showing their application. I know in Japan it's called the bunkai is good, rather than somebody just going through motions and maybe getting an aerobic workout, but not having any application. Striking in the air is very good. I did a lot of that growing up, but I think that we need to hit targets so that we know what it's like to impact something and know if our body's moving correctly. I don't think we have to go with all out sparring because the thing about the full contact sport martial arts is it's not something one could do over a lifetime. And I know that you and I want longevity for everybody. We don't want injuries. We're not getting paid to do this. We go to work on Monday. So having some continuous sparring with, some contact, knowing what it feels like to hit, but also to get hit, that is necessary. And as we mentioned earlier, if something is pretty but not practical, maybe it needs to be discarded for something that's more useful.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right. So, how do you prepare students for real world conflict without glorifying violence?
Uh, there's a student that we have that is studying to be a firefighter, and I've mentioned to this person over and over again that you have to be comfortable with in discomfort. If you're going to be going into buildings that are burning down, or we're literally talking about life and death, if you're not comfortable in heat, being a firefighter might not be the best thing for you. So we have to be comfortable with discomfort, with pressure, with getting hit, with getting pushed around, with the bumps and bruises, so that the best you can do is simulate a fight. If you really wanted to get somebody truly prepared, you tell them to go out in the street and go look for a fight. But of course, that's a threshold that you and I are not willing to do. So, pushing them physically, pushing them mentally, pushing them spiritually, so that when something happens, it's our goal is, again, to train a firefighter to be used to the fire, used to the heat. So we do the best of our ability to simulate that without going all the way to the real thing where somebody gets truly burned or killed.
To kind of give them a fighting chance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So, what role should character development play in future training?
I think it begins and ends with that. I felt for years that more important than any punch, kick, or grab or anything like that is, what's in here. Teaching. So I say that people are human beings; they're not human doings. You can do something upon a command, but that doesn't mean it's within your heart. And if you're going to confront whether it's an attacker or an attack just from life, if there's no pressure inside, you're not going to be able to deal with any pressure on the outside. It's like somebody that's a deep sea diver. When they go down and they're under all that water pressure, they have a pressurized suit that can match the pressure on the outside. So teaching someone to show its little bits of discipline through life. It's opening the door for an elderly person. It's calling your parent on a Sunday. It's admitting you were wrong when you were wrong. Those little bits of character, I believe, build an entire structure of a strong human being.
I totally agree with that. I think that character development is the most important thing, and I think it's what society needs today and is lacking.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes, sir.
So, you teach, and if somebody trains with you for a year, what do you hope they walk away with?
I hope they walk away with some confidence, seeing that they will have been put through some tests that at the very beginning, sometimes I'll demonstrate things and I'll see people's eyes get really wide, and I let them know, I didn't come from Krypton. I don't wear a cape. I'm a person just like you. I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, but through a lot of hard work, anyone can do this stuff. And I'm hoping that when they realize that anybody can accomplish this with some hard work, then maybe getting a college degree or raising a child the right way or starting a business. If you can do this here, you should be able to do all these other things in life.
All right, that's awesome. So thank you, Marcus, for sharing your experience, your perspective, and your responsibility to the arts. And thank you to our listeners for continuing to learn, to train, and reflect. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.